Good afternoon. We will now call the regular council meeting of Tuesday, February 18th, 2025 to order at 1 p.m. We'll begin with the land acknowledgement. We respectfully acknowledge that the Township of Kapamonaghan is located on the Treaty 20 Mississauga territory in the traditional territory of the Mississauga Anishinaabe. We offer our gratitude for First Nations for their care for and teaching about these lands. May we honor these teachings. I'll look to council for approval of the agenda before us today. Moved by Councilor Burns, seconded by Councilor Natchoff. All in favor? That is approved. Any disclosures of pecuniary interests? Seeing none, there is no closed session. And the first item on the agenda today is a public meeting. So we'll need a resolution from council that the public meeting be open in accordance with section 17 and 34 of the Planning Act, RSO 1990, moved by Councilor Byrne, seconded by Councilor Edgerton. All in favor? That is approved. To kick things off with regards to discussion, we're going to Matt Wilkinson with regard to the report. Matt.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Through you, Mr. Mayor, to members of council and the public. Before you is Planning Report PEB 2025-09. The report presents 4 recommendations. 1, that council review and consider all verbal and written comments received at the public meeting. 2, that council approve bylaw number 2025-09 to adopt official plan amendment number 19 to the Township of Kapamonaghan official plan. 3, that council authorize the submission of the adopted official plan amendment to Peterborough County for review and approval. And 4, that council approve bylaw number 2025-10 to change the zoning regulations to implement the policies of official plan amendment number 19 as presented. On behalf of the owner of 1702 Cedar Valley Road, which is Baxter Creek Golf Course, Ms. Saunders of DM Wills applied for an official plan and zoning bylaw amendments. These will permit the consideration of a severance of the existing dwelling on the property. Ms. Saunders is participating via Zoom today if you have any questions for her. The 1702 Cedar Valley Road is designated recreational, natural core, and natural linkage in the Kapamonaghan official plan. The proposed area of the severance is in the recreation designation. The official plan amendment will change a portion of the recreational designation to the rural designation, permit a severance of the rural designation, and provide relief from the minimum distance separation, or MDS, setback requirement only for the area of the proposed severance. The zoning bylaw will apply to both the retained and the severed parcels. The zoning amendment will rezone the area of the existing dwelling from recreational commercial exception 2, or C3-2 zone, to the rural residential exception 28, or RR28 zone. The minimum distance separation 1 setback shall not apply in the RR28 zone. The RR28 zone recognizes the existing 0-meter minimum northern interior side yard setback to the existing drive shed. However, all future redevelopment on the property shall comply with a standard 6-meter or 19.68 foot interior side yard setback. In speaking with the owner, he told us he plans to build a new garage in a different location in the future and is satisfied with this part of the amendment. Notice the amendments are circulated by first-class prepaid mail to all assessed persons within 120 meters or 400 feet of the lands, to all required ministries and agencies, and to all township department directors. A notice sign was posted on the Highway 28 frontage of the property, and notice of the public meeting was posted on the township website. The notice complies with the requirements of the Planning Act. Township staff did receive 1 comment from the public who requested the notice of decision. However, they did not provide any position, whether support or opposition. Township staff have no objection to the applications. Comments from the agent, Autonomy Conservation, Canada Post, Enbridge Gas, and Nexcom were received for the applications, none of which had any objection to the applications. Peterborough Public County Works Department did not have any objection to the proposal, but they did stress that a second entrance to the property would not be permitted. The proposed amendments are consistent with applicable policies and regulations. Thank you.
Thank you for that summary of the report, Matt. Questions with regards to the report, members of council? Councilor Byrne.
Through the chair to Matt, I was curious if the house is being lived in right now. I guess the potential is now to sell this off as a separate parcel. Back in the day, there was a lot of talk, and I don't know where it went. It does mention in the report once that there's no plans for future subdivision of this major property, but there was a lot of talk back in the day about estate homes being built either near or on Baxter Creek Golf Course that would take the prestige of being on a golf course. I'm just kind of curious about those 2 things, if the house is actually being lived in and if that's still an option for them going forward to do more separations.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Byrne. The house is being lived in by a member of the family who owns the property, so he's planning on continuing to live there. They're not planning on severing it off for gains. The future, I'm going to pass it over to Alice.
Through you, Mayor, to Councillor Byrne. So there has been a proposal to develop a portion of the golf course into leased dwelling units. So previously, we've held a number of meetings with county planning staff, the owners, and that has never been permitted under the provincial legislation. We now have a new provincial planning statement, and to be quite honest, we have not been approached and we have not investigated what changes, if any, that new PPS might permit consideration of on the property, but we have not been approached since October 20th when that new PPS came into being.
So, so the severance today that we're discussing with regards to the public meeting has no implications for, or any bearing based on any future considerations of the rest of the property other than this retained part or the severed parcel that we're talking about today, correct?
Through you, Mayor Graham, to members of council, that is correct. That the applications before you today will permit the consideration of one severed lot that includes the existing single detached dwelling. Any consideration of any additional development on the property would have to either comply with the official plan policies and zoning bylaw regulations, or a new application would be required.
Thank you, Ms. Ellis. Other questions? Councillor Byrne.
Through the chair to Ms. Ellis. So the severance lot is kind of an oddball shape. I'm guessing that's to get around the Quonset house or the building that's there. On page 4 of the actual report, which is page 7 of my handout, it speaks to some minimum front yard distances. Is that standard to the actual rules, or is that just the way things got carved out? I'm just kind of curious why they exist.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Byrne. The odd shape is to account for the golf course lands so that it doesn't back onto one of the holes, and while still incorporating the driveway and access to the rear of the property. The front yard setback, are you referring to that a request was made for additional lands?
Sorry, Matt. I believe what Councillor Burns referring to is the minimum frontage yard and the interior side road restriction.
Sorry, now I understand. Yes, those are the standards that were existing before, and we just carried them over to be the standard of what is continuing. Those are still the golf course lands, not the severed single detached unit.
Councillor Nacho?
Thank you, through you, Chair. As you had mentioned in the report that it would, the county would not allow for additional access off of 28. So the property being severed, that would be like a mutually shared driveway that would segregate the two properties and access to both then? That's the case?
Yeah, so actually the residence has its own dedicated driveway, and there's another driveway already existing that can access the accessory building that's not a part of the severed parcel, in addition to the entrance for the golf course that's off Cedar Valley, obviously, as well. Matt, do you want to just clarify anything I missed?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, and members of council, that's correct. There's multiple, there is no mutually shared driveway. The severed parcel has its own driveway, and then they wouldn't be, well, they could, but they don't access the other driveways to the golf course.
Other questions? If not, we can go to the one member of the public, I believe, who is here to speak to the application. I believe it's Marnie Sanders. Marnie, are you with us? Marnie, can you hear us, and can you try your mic? And if you'd like to speak to the application, we're taking members of the public.
Yeah, I can hear you. Good afternoon, members of council, staff, and the public. My name is Marnie Saunders. I'm a senior land use planner with DM Wills, and I'm acting as the applicant on behalf of the owners for this official plan and zoning bylaw amendment applications I've read and reviewed the staff report, and I do agree with the recommendations and conclusions they've made therein. I just wanted to expand on one of the responses to the comment on the future development of the golf course. As Ms. Ellis indicated, the PPS formally didn't allow for that form of development that was previously proposed. We haven't investigated whether or not the new PPS permits that or not. However, as part of this zoning bylaw amendment, the current zoning on the golf course does allow for one accessory single detached dwelling because of the existing farmhouse that was always on the golf course. As part of the zoning bylaw amendment, that permitted use will actually be eliminated from the current zoning on the retained lands, which will be the golf course. And it will still be permitted in the zoning that we're proposing for the severed lands, which is the farmhouse. But the golf course permitted use will be eliminated from the proposed severed lot under that new rural residential zoning. So effectively, they couldn't put a golf course or a miniature golf course or anything like that on the new residential lot. And no longer would a single detached dwelling accessory to the golf course be permitted on the golf course unless other development was investigated or contemplated in the future. But as the zoning we're proposing now stands, that permitted use will be eliminated from the golf course at this time. And if there's any other questions of council, I'm happy to answer them.
Nope, absolutely. Thank you for that. I don't think there'd be much of a golf course on 1.5 acres anyway, so I don't think we'd be expecting an application to that in the future, but so be it. Any questions with regards to the comments from Ms. Saunders? If not, thank you for that, for those comments and for joining us today. So there are 4 recommendations in the report. Any issues with any of them? If not, we'll look for a mover and a seconder for those 4 recommendations. Moved by Councillor Natshaw, seconded by Councillor Byrne. All in favor? That is approved. Thank you, everyone. And thank you, Marnie, for joining us today. We need then a resolution to close the public meeting. Moved by Councillor Byrne, seconded by Councillor Natshaw. All in favor? That is approved. Next on the item, we have the minutes of the regular meeting held February 3rd. We're looking for a mover to approve those minutes as presented. Councillor Byrne, seconded by Councillor Edgerton. All in favor? That is approved. Minutes from committees and boards, Sustainability Advisory Committee meetings from December 13th meeting approved as presented. Moved by Councillor Byrne, seconded by Councillor Natshaw. All in favor? That is approved. Next, we go to the report section of the agenda. We have a report, Public Works 2025 Drinking Water Quality Management System. And I believe Jessica and Wayne are here to present. I'm not sure who's starting, but by all means, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Before you is Public Works Report 2025-01 Drinking Water Quality Management System, Millbrook Water System. The 2 recommendations within the report are 1, that council endorse the contents of the limited scope drinking water quality management system operational plan for the Millbrook water system as step 1 of the accreditation process. And 2, that top management as defined in the operational plan be delegated authority to endorse changes to the operational plan of minor or administrative nature. Endorsement of the limited scope operational plan is step 1 in the process mandated by the Safe Drinking Water Act, which requires municipalities to meet the drinking water quality management standards. As mentioned in the report, there is an audit that will take place on February 24th in preparation for the April 1st transition. And once the limited scope accreditation is obtained, the township will move forward with the full scope accreditation process, which we will bring a follow-up report to be presented to council for further endorsement. Thank you.
Thanks, Jessica. So if, just for clarity, you said that audit is coming up. Is it next week already? Oh, okay. Very good. Questions with regards to the report, members of council? Councillor Byrne.
Through the chair to Jessica, on the very first chart in the overview, it talks about the 9 out of the 21. Am I safe to assume the 9 that are in dark color are the 9 that you're referring to? The other was, I'm curious, later on I'll ask more questions about how we're going to staff this. Is it still the presumption of staff that this idea of us bringing it in-house and then extra people we have to bring on, that this still might be a cost saving for the people in the water system?
Through you, Mayor. Yes, that is still our intention. We are completing a As part of the capital budget for 2025, water wastewater rate study will be completed and we will further determine that if it is true or not.
Follow up?
Through the chair. The other thing I was going to ask you about that I don't know, on page 7 of the 23, it talks about an air release line. I'm just not sure what that is.
Sorry, can you clarify what page?
I believe it's page 78 in the agenda.
Through Mr. Mayor, the air relief valves and sorry, did it use a valve or was it a? Regardless, air relief measures are in place to ensure no trapped air is in the system. If it's designed so that air will be relieved through the system and it doesn't go throughout a distribution system.
Other questions, members of council? Councilor Byrne?
In regard to off-duty stuff, are we anticipating hiring an answering service to handle after-hours calls? And there's also mention of if there's problems that exceed the norm, who would make that call to say that we go to the other strategy of enlarging the scope?
Through you, Mayor. In place, we currently have an answering service for after-hours calls, and we will be continuing with that. And in terms of making decisions, it will be up to top management to determine that.
Thanks, Jess. Other questions? Okay. Seeing none, there are 2 recommendations so we're just approving that short list in order for the auditor to have a review of those 9 criteria and for their meeting next week, you said, right? Correct? Can I look to any other questions before we go? There's just those 2 recommendations. Got a mover and a seconder for those 2 recommendations. Moved by Councilor Natchoff, seconded by Councilor Byrne. All in favor? That is approved. Thanks very much, Jessica and Wayne, for your support. Jessica, you're up again with regard to Public Works Annual MECP Drinking Water Reports.
Thank you. Before you is report Public Works 2025-02, the annual MECP drinking water reports. Recommendation before you is that council receives the report annual drinking water reports for information. This is an annual report that's brought forward every year, and I have added in graphs or illustration for as a request from Huntley last year.
Well, he's not here to appreciate them, but I'm sure I can express his appreciation vicariously while he's away on vacation with his family. Questions with regards to the report, Councilor Byrne?
Through the chair to Jessica, on page 96 of the agenda, you referred to daily taking. Is that out of the standpipe or is that out of the ground?
Through you, Mayor, that refers to the wells, the drinking water wells from our drinking water works permit.
Follow up?
Yes, through the chair. So on page 102, I'm looking at so the months of August, September, and October, the peak flows spiked, and I don't see any real explanation of that. I'm just curious. The other parameters go up slightly, but the peak flows jumped a lot. Is that because of flushing or a fire or something that happened?
Through the chair, yes, that is from maintenance activities. And in September, we did a cleaning and video of our well 2, which we do have to use water for that process.
Thanks, Jess. Another question, Councilor Byrne?
Through the chair to Jessica, one other thing. So do we add fluoride to the water? Because it mentions we do a 5-year check of fluoride. I don't think it's naturally occurring, but I don't see fluoride in the list of things that we add to the water.
Through the chair, that's correct. We do not add fluoride. We only add chlorine for disinfectant purposes.
So why would we do a 5-year check to see if there's fluoride in the water. There's a mention of that in one of the report.
So fluoride is naturally occurring and some groundwater sources do tend to have a higher amount. So that is part of the ministry's regulations.
Thanks for that, Jess. Any other questions with regards? If not, we're just receiving this report for information as we do annually. And I've got a mover and a seconder, moved by Councillor Burns, seconded by Councillor Natchoff. All in favor? That is approved. Lastly, 9.3, Ms. Hurley, capital CAO report and capital status.
Through you, Mr. Chair, to council, it is before you. If you have any questions, by all means, I'm here to answer them, but the report is pretty explanatory.
Thank you, Ms. Hurley. Any questions about the CAO report? If not, we'll take a mover and a seconder to receive for information. Moved by Councillor Edgerton, seconded by Councillor Natchoff. All in favor? That is approved. Council committee verbal reports. Any committee of council updates? Councillor Byrne?
Through the chair, I would just like to mention, Bridget is running an event the second Wednesday of every month to help any business in the community, new or established, to try to get access to some of the publications or communications or any of the other pertinent details that might help a business in the area grow. So it will be happening down in the new hockey rink in the small room that's kind of hard to find. But it's going to happen the second Wednesday of every month going forward at 8:30 in the morning. Drop in between then and 11, I believe.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Brennan. That's in coordination with the new Economic Development Department through the county as well. Any other council updates? Seeing none, I just wanted to shout out a special thanks to obviously the roads and public works staff. We've been dealing with a significant amount of precipitation lately, and they've done a fantastic job. So hopefully we'll have a few days, it looks like, in the forecast of reprieve, but I just wanted to thank everyone for the long hours and exceptional work that they've been doing to keep the road safe in the community. So thank you for that. With that, can we get an approval to receive those reports for information? Moved by Councillor Natchoff, seconded by Councillor Byrne. All in favor? That is approved. There is no general business. There is no correspondence for information. There is no correspondence for action. The bylaws for the meeting are that bylaw number 2025-09, adoption of the official plan amendment number 19, 1702 Cedar Valley Road, and bylaw number 2025-10, adoption of the zoning bylaw amendment 1702 Cedar Valley Road, and bylaw number 2025-11, being a bylaw to execute an agreement between the Ontario Federation of Snowmobile Clubs District 3 and the Township of Cabmonaghan to be authorized the use of snowmobiles on selected township roads, be read a first, second, third time past this 18th day of February, signed by the mayor and the clerk, and the corporate seal attached there too. Can I get a mover for those bylaws? Councillor Byrne, seconded by Councillor Edgerton. All in favor? That is approved. There is no unfinished business. Any notices of motion? Seeing none. The confirming bylaw, bylaw number 2025-12, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the meeting held February 18th, 2025, be read a first, second, and third time and passed this 18th day of February, signed by the mayor and the clerk, and the corporate seal attached there too. Can I get a mover for the confirming bylaw? Moved by Councillor Natchoff, seconded by Councillor Byrne. All in favor? That is approved. Lastly, a motion to adjourn today's meeting. Moved by Councillor Byrne, seconded by Councillor Natchoff. All in favor? That is approved. Upcoming events, the Municipal Revitalization and Heritage Advisory Committee meets Thursday, February 20th, 2025 at 9 a.m. The Millbrook Valley Trails Advisory Meeting is February 24th at 4 p.m. The next regular council meeting is Monday, March 3rd at 1 p.m. in the chamber. The Downtown BIA Board of Management meeting is Thursday, March 13th, and the subsequent regular council meeting is Monday, March 17th at 1 p.m. in the council chambers. Lastly, the Sustainability Advisory Committee meeting is held on March 27th at 1 p.m. Also, I forgot to mention in the committee council reports, but special thanks to all the staff that helped facilitate the Family Day event yesterday. We heard some great reports and feedback, so I'm sure everyone appreciated it in spite of the weather. So thanks for that. And with that, today's meeting is complete, and we'll see you next time. Cheers.